What we're going to do is we're going to solve absolute value inequalities. These are a little bit more difficult than the ones we were working with last time. The goal for this one is to first get the absolute value by itself. Once we get the absolute value by itself, then what we can do is we can write the or statement or the and statement. We separate it, and then we solve both of them. So notice in this case, in order to get it by itself, we subtract the 9 to get the -4. Then we divide it by -2. Remember, when we divide by a negative, it flips the inequality. So it now becomes a greater than statement. Greater than statements are or statements. And then we write our two inequalities, solve them. Remember, with an or statement, they go in opposite directions. Since there's two lines, we write two intervals. And our symbol for or is like the U. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these examples right here. We're going to solve the equation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to graph it on a number line and write the interval notation. So for the first one, what we're going to do is we are going to add the 3. And then that gives us 5. And then x minus 1 is less than 10. Then we're going to divide it by 5. And that gives us x minus 1 is less than 2. So we have the absolute value by itself. So that's always the first step. Then once we have it by itself, we write our two inequalities. X minus 1 is less than 2. And this is an and statement because it's less than. And then we have x minus 1 is greater than -2. So we're going to add the 1, and that gives us 3. And then on the other side, when we add the 1, that gives us x is greater than -1. So that is how it's solved. Now, when we're graphing this on a number line, we always put the least value first, which in this case is -1. 3 would be the greater than value. Both of them are open circles, and statements go in the middle. For the interval notation, we have a parenthesis since it's open, and then a parenthesis also for the 3. Pause the video and try letter B and see how you do. So for letter B, we first subtract the 10, and that gives us -3. Absolute value of 4x minus 2 is greater than or equal to -12. We divide it by -3. Remember, when we divide by a negative, what happens is we flip the inequality, and that becomes a +4. Now, once the absolute value is by itself, we're writing our two inequalities. 4x minus 2 is less than or equal to 4. And once again, it's an and statement, less than. And then we have 4x minus 2 is greater than or equal to -4. I'm going to add the 2, and that gives me 4x is less than or equal to 6. When I divide by 4, I get less than or equal to 6 over 4, which reduces to 3/2. For my other one, I add the 2, and that gives me 4x is greater than or equal to -2. I divide by 4, and that right there gives me x is less than or equal to -2 over 4, which is -1/2. So that is the problem solved. Now, when I'm graphing it on the number line, the first number is -1/2 on the left, and on the right is 3/2. Remember, they go in numerical order. Both of these are closed circles, and since it's an and statement, it goes in the middle. The interval is going to be two brackets, -1/2 and 3/2. Now, looking at letter C, we're going to use the same process. First thing we want to do is get the absolute value by itself. So we add the 4. That gives us 2. Absolute value of x plus 7 is greater than or equal to 6. We divide it by 2. Absolute value of x plus 7 is greater than or equal to 3. What we're going to do next is write the two inequalities. And so what we have is x plus 7 is greater than or equal to 3. Or we have x plus 7 is less than or equal to negative 3. I'm going to subtract the 7. And when I subtract the 7, I get x is greater than or equal to negative 4. And then for the other inequality, when I subtract the 7, I get x is less than or equal to negative 10. After we solve it, what we're going to do is we're going to graph it on a number line. Remember, the least value comes first. So in this case, negative 10. Then we have negative 4. Both of these are closed circles. Since it's an or statement, it's going the opposite direction. For the interval notation, we have negative infinity to negative 10, and we do the or symbol, and we have negative 4 to infinity. Remember, we have two intervals because there are two lines. Pause the video and try letter D on your own. So for letter D, first thing that we're going to do is subtract the 8. And we get negative 4. Absolute value of 5x minus 3 is less than negative 12. We divide it by negative 4. When we divide it by a negative, what happens is that the inequality flips. So 5x minus 3 is greater than 3. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to write our two inequalities. 5x minus 3 is greater than 3. Or, because it's greater than, and 5x minus 3 is less than negative 3. What I'm going to do is add the 3, and that gives me 5x is greater than 6. Add the 3 on the other side, and 5x is less than 0. I divide by 5, so x is greater than 6 over 5. Or, if I divide by 5, x is less than 0. So that would be the inequality solved. Now when we graph it on the number line, first number is 0. The second one is 6/5. Both of them are open circles. Since it's an or statement, they're going out. And now we're going to write the interval. Since there are two lines, we have two intervals, negative infinity to 0, or we have 6/5 to infinity.